Hello, this is Satori back with another deck profile. Today we'll present Shirayuki Premium. Murakumo has went under the radar ever since Nuadaya got banned, and recently the deck has resurfaced a little bit, but there's still a lot of misconception going around about how good the deck is and how it functions. While I don't believe this is one of the top dogs in the format, it definitely has teeth and can compete with most decks in the format. I want to start off by saying that this list is not fully optimal, and this deck can also look quite different depending on what decks you want to run against your local meta. I will go over some of the more common options for the deck at the end of the deck profile. We will start off with the starter. Getting an extra draw and quick shield while going second is just too good compared to anything else. 3 draw PGs. We have other important triggers that we have to run, so we can't run 4. So this is the one that gets the cut. Cray Elemental OT. The Dragon Empire one is better, but if you are on a budget, this one will do. 4 Hidden Scroll. One of the best cards in the deck. Fills up your circles, finds your combo pieces, and can even get you extra advantage combined with cards with cat. You can copy a cat, get 2 more cat out, you get +2 soul, and draw 2 cards, which is extremely good. Obviously, you deck 10 triggers out of your deck, but sometimes it's worth it. And then we have 4 Heal Guardians. This deck can have some problems with early game and getting rushed, so extra tankiness is really important. 4 Sasameyuki. Finds your Shirayukis and gets you extra soul. If it was before turn 3 and you ride again on turn 4, it's 2 extra soul, which leads to 2 more extra attacks or 1 more extra activation of defensive Shirayuki to not die, which is really important. Then you have 4 Rainy Madam. Lets you be aggressive with your early Shirayuki discards. Again, this goes into soul, adds back a Shirayuki, resource farming, soul farming, really important. Then you have 1 grade 1 PG. This is mostly because we can only run 3 draw PGs, and also on ride it gives you more extra filtering. Also, you can consider running a 6k grade 1 PG to underswing opponent's 7k Vanguards to damage deny early. 2 Ataka. This is a tech slot, but the +5k is often active in the early game for being an extra beat stack. So yeah, this is great. Also finds your grade 3s, but can be tucked into other cards. For Jakotsu Girl. This is one of the best cards in the deck. Finds your Shirayukis to hand, to drop, and if it doesn't find anything, it gives you a +1 soul, which is really important. Obviously, when it doesn't hit, so this gives you a meaningful grade 2 game. Yeah, real important. And kind of combined with it, you have Lady Silhouette, because ideally you want to see a Lady Silhouette and then copy a Jakotsu Girl with it. So you have 2 Jakotsu Girls on grade 2, so you can start pressuring your opponent to either take early damage, so then you can plan on rushing your opponent, or if they're guarding, you're getting resources, which is extremely good. Also, Silhouette has a second effect of spinning opponent's triggers off the board, so if you have a Homily and your opponent does not have a Dismal, you will spin it away to the bottom of the deck as well, so a deck like Grand Blue can't even revive it from the drop zone. And then we have 3 Hokaku. I run a 12k base to combat the early game pressure in my locals, but again, this is a flex slot, although you can run some 10k OD cards that have relevant effects. And we have 4 Petal Storm Shirayuki. Part of the resource loop, part of the defensive game plan. First way to give -10k power to your opponent's Vanguard, so this is really important. Shirayuki name as well. And then we have 6 Flower Shirayuki. This one is even more important because gives -10k to your opponent when anything doesn't hit. This works on rear guard, so you have multiples, which you will, on most games, you have multiples. You underswing with one hit, you CB as many as you have with these, one CB per each of the Shirayukis that you have, and give minus 10k to your opponent. So you can stack up to minus 20, minus 30k, depending on how much CB you have and on the situation. And yeah, this card is extremely good. Also offers a defensive play, Soul Blast 2, Guardian Circle, minus 30k for that battle, also very important. And in the deck and drop zone, it has the first Shirayuki's name, so it is searchable, or if you like, if you hidden scroll the first Shirayuki, you can call out one of it and one of other Shirayuki as well. You have the option, or two of these. And for the last three main deck cards, we have the Asperidia. Lets you be more aggressive, plays into the, well, if your opponent takes a lot of early damage, you can use this to rush your opponent. But this is another flex slot. Why this card is a little bit redundant is because one of the main ways you can win with this is the double victor setup, and double victor setup already turns every soul you have into an extra attack, so Asperidia, it is standing, doesn't really do anything, because you could use the soul for the victor anyway. So that's it for the main deck. For the extra deck, I will be missing a couple of cards that I will mention that you should run, but you have 3 Victor, the MVP of the deck, great first strike, farm cards, and also sets up the combo for second strike by itself because you can flip another copy with itself. Because the second effect is Soul Blast 1 when it Shadow Stitch, so when any attack doesn't hit, you can call this out from the G zone if it's face up. For Ice Petal Shirayuki, so you should cut 2 of these most likely for the cards that I will mention, 1 each, but there is other cards that you can cut as well. CB1, flip a Shirayuki, gives minus K for every face-up Shirayuki in the G-zone, so extra minus power, but the strong part about this card is the GB3 effect, which lets all rear guards with Shirayuki in their name to attack from the back row, which means you can have 3 Shirayukis in the back row. Let's say you have 1 or 2 Asperidia in the front row, so you can do a lot of multi-attacking. And since your opponent is on minus 20, 30k, each individual swing gets to benefit from that rather than boosting for bigger power. So that's really important. This also plays into your going first game plan. So if you go first and you think that you're going to rush your opponent, you then ride up first. If you have a heal, you heal guard, so GB3 is active on first strike, so you go into this and try to kill your opponent. Q Yasui Genma, this doesn't come up often, but when CB is limited, it's an interesting option. Also, when your opponent is on 4, it forces them to think whether they want to no guard the swing and risk dying, or they guard it and then you give 5 of your rear guards a crit. So they have to guard the next 5 swings as well while being on 4. So that's pretty cool. On GB8, you pretty much never get to this, but it is mostly free as long as you have a couple of cards in hand and alternative win condition. You exhausted all of your resources, this still does something. Then we have a Decimal to protect our rear guards, 1 Colburn if your opponent has a fat hand, 1 Ractome to filter cards, and 3 Shirayuki. This is surprisingly very good because it's mostly free. If you have a 5k shield rear guard on your board, this becomes 30k. If you have a 10k shield on your board, it just turns into a 40k shield, which is pretty cool. Obviously, the downside is if you don't have a board, it's useless. So that's it for my G-Zone, but 2 cards that you definitely should be running are Drachma. It is important mostly as an out to Honolly that is already on the board and you're afraid that your opponent can't Dismal the Honolly, so Silhouette won't be able to spin it. And Kagami-Jishi. It's an alternative way to play more aggressively on first try, however, it offers nothing else, which means you need to have a pretty ideal hand to consider going into him. So what are some other card considerations for this deck? Blaze Maiden Tanya offers a 10k base and can revive a cat or hidden scroll, which are both really good targets. Both of them also will get their effects. Ralok helps you survive early game. Honolly against multi-attack matchups. Cross Rock Dragon, 10k base, can get pesky back row rear guards into the front row. Often you can use that to swing with your Vanguard into them so you can damage deny your opponent. And so how does this deck work? So I will show pretty much the combo that the deck should be known for, is known for. I don't know. This is like the main thing that you can do. So your game plan consists of building soul, searching for Shirayukis, and then setting up multi-attack turns where you minus your opponent's power as much as possible, so your every swing becomes bigger. So yeah, let's say this is our G zone. We have 2 vectors. I could show a field, but the main part is like, this is your Excel circle. This is like, you probably had a unit on it. So this is the main play, the double vector setup, which turns every soul that you have into an extra attack. So on the first attack, that doesn't hit. So let's say you swing with this, maybe your opponent took it, maybe it didn't. Let's say you swing with anything else, and then the attack doesn't hit. So what you do is Soul Blast 1, call out a Victor. So you have another Victor in the G zone. This costs a Soul Blast, so every Soul Blast, you will be able to repeat this as many Soul Blasts as you have. So then, most of the time when you call this out, you immediately swing with this to be careful of your opponent's 6 damage healing. Maybe they take the swing and you don't have anyone else to swing with. Basically, you don't ever want to be in a situation where you can't proc Shadow Stitch. So you swing with this. Again, situation doesn't... So let's say your opponent is already on 5. You swing with this. Your opponent has to guard. You Soul Blast 1. Call this out. On top of it, by game mechanics, Victor must return into the G zone face up. So you're back into the same situation where you have a Victor on your Excel circle and a Victor in your G zone. Again, swing, doesn't hit, Soul Blast 1, call, goes back. And this is how you turn every soul that you have into an extra swing. So this is exactly why I said the split idea is a little bit redundant. But sometimes you can't really play for a second stride, you have to play to win on the first stride. So this is mostly how the deck works. I think anyone that's interested in Murakumo or wants to try any red clans, or they just want to try out a new deck, I think this has been under the radar. I think it's pretty fun. It's definitely worth a try. And so thank you for tuning into my video. Again, feedback is greatly appreciated. And this has been Satori, and see you next time.